I'm Dr. Yuvaneshwari, working as an assistant professor at PG Research and Department of Commerce at Kamadhenu Arts and Science College, Satyamangalam. So today going to see a small topics on company law. So what are the learning objectives we are going to see today? So what is the meaning and essential characteristics of a countries, different kinds of companies. It's what are the steps required for formations and commencement of business by a company. Identify the source of funds to be raised by a company. So what is origin of the company? So what is a company? What is its origin? The term company is derived from the Latin word companies. Com means together, panis means bread. So it refers to association of persons who take their meals together. Company, in simple way, this is defined. It is an association of persons who are there contributed monies and money's worth in common stocks. The employment is also taken place in some trade or business, and who says the profit and loss for them. Section 3 of 1 of Y, the Companies Act 1956 defines companies. It is formed and registered under the act of an existing companies. Existing companies means companies are already formed and registered under any of their earlier companies laws. Meaning and definitions of a companies. The word corporation is derived from the Latin word corpus, means body, associate of persons formed for any common objects of its members and at its begins of all of them. Definitions. The Companies Act 1956 defines a company is formed and registered under this act, that is formed and registered in any of the former Companies Act. Nature of a company. So the first, legal personality. The second, perception existent. The third, liability. Next, capacity to shoot or to be sued. The first, legal personality. The articles, it gives us more explanations about the separate legal personality. It means the company is considered as separate from its owners and the directors. Next, perpetual existence. It means constitution is not affected by the changes of its members. Perpetual successions means the members can come and go, but the company should not shut down for any reasons. The death, bankruptcy of members will not affect the existence of an companies. Limited liability. The legal structure of an organization where corporate losses is not exempted. So limited liabilities is also used here. The capacity to be sued or should be sued. A company is a legal or jurisdictional persons. It can be sued of another persons. It may bring an actions for civil wrongs which affect its property, but a corporation cannot sue for logistics which is not affected its property. The next excessive characteristics of a company. It is a voluntary association. It has a separate legal entity, perception existence. It has a common sales. It has a limited liability. The free transfer of ownership is taken place in a company. Professional management. It is framed under the government rules and regulations. So kinds of companies. What are the kinds of companies we have? Chartered corporations or companies, statutory companies, government companies, foreign companies. We have a joint stock companies. We have a registered companies. So registered companies we have in two types, that is private companies and public companies. So what is chartered companies? It is incorporated by the Royal Charters. The biggest companies like East Indian companies, which is formed by the Royal Charter in England. Statutory companies, it is incorporated under a special act. It should be passed by the law should be passed by the Parliament of the state legislations. In India, companies, public enterprises or public utility services, the RBI, SBI, FEC, or such as in companies as an statutory companies in India. Government companies. So what is government companies? It is a company as an association in the central government, state governments or central state. It's combined to own at least 51% of the paid share capitals. The next, features of government companies. It is decent legal bodies. It provides a Companies Act to the controls management, the memorandum of articles of associations, and controls the appointments of workforces. A government company is supported by government shareholdings in terms of funds as well as private stockholders. It should be added and for the reasons. The company can also raise funds on the stock exchanges. Joint stock companies. The business entities shares the joint stock companies also. Each shareholders or the stockholders evidenced by its shares. Shareholders was able to transfer their shares to others without any effects to the continuance of the companies. Registered companies. These companies are formed. It should be registered under the Companies Act 1956. Private companies as per section 3 of 3. So the private companies means which is it should be started with a minimum paid capital of 1 lakh or high capital as we described its articles. It seeks to transfer this shares They have a limits the members up to 50 members, prohibits and invitations to the public to subscribe any shares or debentures. It may rise in capital only in for members or banks or other financial institutions. Public companies, section 3 of 3 defines which is not a private company. They have a minimum paid up capitals of 5 lakhs or higher paid up, which is should be the capital should be prescribed in an articles. All private companies which are subsidiaries of companies or public companies, they must be at least 7 persons to form a public company. The next, conversations of a private company into a public company. We have a conversation by default but conversation by choice. Conversation of default is complaining the provisions of section 3 of 1 of 3 of this act. The company is entitled to privileges and exemptions available. The whole act should apply to the public companies. Conversation by choice, it converted to the public companies. The special resolution and articles are removed or any restrictions imposed for a private companies under section 3 of 1 of 3 of this act. The distinction between the private companies. What is the difference between the private companies and public companies? Transfer of shares is limited in private limited companies, can issue share to the publics. Minimum of 2 members are required to incorporate such business models in private companies. Minimum of 7 members are required to incorporate such model business. Minimum of 2 directors is required to run the private companies. The minimum of 3 directors are required to run the public companies. Attract fewer compliances, it attracts a plenty of compliances. So what are the things we have to promote faiths? The benefit of the companies as a whole, we have to take care of the stakeholders of the companies. The companies we have two environment, that is macro environment and micro environment. That is we have an internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders, employees, managers and owners. External stakeholders, we have suppliers, society, government, creditors, shareholders and customers. Thank you.